before we get to that, speaking of Consumer Reports and how they say that it ends, one of the other things they were complaining about is how it doesn't have enough driver monitoring like Super Cruise does. Did you guys get a chance to listen or watch the podcast with, we all know George Hotz, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hacker George Hotz. He was on Lex Friedman. So that's the name. It almost escaped me for a second there. His podcast. Did you listen to that? It was like a 3-hour podcast, but then Lex broke it down into like 5-6 minute segments. And one of the topics that they were talking about is driver monitoring. And George was saying that, of course, George is saying because he's got his own software out there. He's basically not liking how FSD does it, and he basically putting money down that before the end of this FSD is fully released or fully matured, that Tesla will go into driver monitoring with that interior camera. One way, some way, somehow, that they're definitely going to go that route. And the reasons he gave for it, he laid out the points, does make sense. It is a compelling argument. And whether it's us having our hands on the wheel as we do today, and the nag coming to us every 20 to 40 seconds, if that's their way of doing it, and that's the way they'll continue, or if they're going to go to the in-car camera, like Green the Only has deciphered the code and seen some code in there. Now, we don't know. Everyone's assuming that code in there is for driver monitoring, but we don't know that for a fact. It could be in there for what's happening right now with the beta testers. They may be using that strictly, not for us normal people. They may be using that just for the few people in there right now that are beta testing, to see if, as they're beta testing and they're told to keep their full attention and everything from all the wording that came out when full self-driving beta came out, maybe they're monitoring those guys and seeing if their eye track and hands on the wheel and attention is fully on the road. Who knows?
So George Hotz has a really good reputation. If you look at his career, his history of everything he's done, he's very reputable, right? And I think having Kome AI gives him it gives him a good standpoint as to what's going on and how things work and how things run. He's actually been one of the few that's always said, hey, I need more data. It's not like fake data. You need real driving data. And he said it's after Tesla manages to achieve it, the way they're keeping pace with the limited data they have, he said it's going to be 2 or 3 years after Tesla does it. They'll probably be the next company. His system's rather interesting. But going back to what I was saying, I think just given his whole track record, I put more weight into what he's saying versus, like the CEO of Ford or the CEO of Volkswagen or some of those guys, just because of his standpoint, right? He's a top-level engineer. He's developing his own similar system, and he has a really good track record of what he's saying. So, I mean...
Yeah. He comes across cocky and he rubs people the wrong way, but after all that is said and done, he's a smart guy and he knows his stuff. So you got to give him credit for that. Any opinion on the whole driver monitoring thing, Darren, before we move along?
I think George is probably correct, and I think Tesla might implement driver monitoring more because they have to get it approved than if they want to do it. That's just my opinion.
Did you guys see that tweet? Well, there's a video going around where another group of people, not in the driver's seat, passenger, back seat, recording a video, car driving on the highway.
Oh yeah, where they were drinking beer?
Yeah.
No, there was another one after the beer one. There's another person that did it. And I think Tesla has to track down these vehicles and literally ban that person from having autopilot and any of the features moving forward. There has to be some sort of clause in their agreement that says, hey, if you misuse the tech, you lose privilege. Because until it actually is full self-driving with level 4, level 5, more likely 4, people shouldn't like. It just gives Tesla a bad name, right? Because that car crashes somewhere. It's like, oh, the car didn't do what it's supposed to do. Well, no, it did. It's the user that kind of messed it up, right? So
yeah, that's exactly. That's not what the headlines or all the media outlets are going to say. They're going to be what's the biggest font that's going to be on the headline the next morning? Tesla. Those 5 letters will be everywhere, and that's what everyone else that doesn't even know Tesla or just heard of them. That's the only thing they're going to take away from that story, because they'll just read the headline.